Right, let's go ahead and tackle those gloves and boots. So I'm not going to deviate too much from my idea here. I'm not going to necessarily explore any new ideas. I'm just going to kind of add on to what I've already explored in the actual concept art that we've got here that we drew already. Okay, I'm just going to kind of expand that into greater detail. So let's go ahead and start with gloves. Yes, there we go. Is it working? Yes, it's working. Okay, so let's get our pen out. So at the moment, our gloves, if I was to redraw them again in a bit more detail, let's sort of start there, and we'll bring them down. They're actually quite, I'd say, almost, won't use the word basic per se, but they are quite simple in their design. Okay, something maybe a little bit more. There we go. That's the effect I was going for. Okay, so what have we got with this at the moment? We've got straps going across at the top here somewhere. That's what we've got there. Okay, because that's a theme that we're carrying on with the character in lots of other areas as well. Okay, and we'll do we'll just add in a standard fastener here for now. Okay, and then we've got kind of just a glove on the bottom there. Again, I'm not going to draw anything amazing. I'm just going to draw her hands kind of splayed out, because I'm not very good at drawing hands, per se. Okay, something like that. Okay, although I will say I think I need a bit more room, so let me just cut that out and move these fingers down. There we go. And just give it a bit more of an actual palm, and now I'll merge them. There we go. Cool, and I'll fix her broken finger here. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay, so that's the kind of basic glove with that design we've got so far, and the means by which to fashion the tie the glove together. We've got this kind of string, or this kind of tying apparatus here that just is crisscross. Okay, just kind of complete that out. Right, so what's the problem I have with this here? It's quite a clear problem, I think. The problem I have with this in particular is the fact it's a bit too straight. Okay, let me give you another idea here. We could actually expand this a little bit more, and we could even wrap a second belt round the wrist, almost the wrist area. Okay, what happens if we add a second belt there? What could that do for us? And you're probably already seeing not too much is the answer to that question. Okay, so what can we do? Well, let's go for something a little bit more wild. Let's go for a bit more of a fanning out at the top there. Okay, so you'll see what I'm doing in a second. Really fan that out quite a bit, and then come down here, and we'll carry that down there as well. You might be thinking that's a bit thin, but hold the phone. Aha! There is more to this. And then maybe it fans out again towards the bottom, just like the previous glove did. Okay, and then let's draw our hands in again. I'll try and do a bit of a better job, making a worse job of it already. Again, I don't seem to ever leave enough room for her palms. Okay, something like that. It's not amazing drawing, I know, but it's okay. And how is this going to be fastened together? Well, we can still use the same string tie method there, but it just kind of stops it from looking too flat. Okay, the fact that it kind of flays out at the top and kind of really exaggeratively kind of fans out at the top there, helps the design look a little bit more unique, I think, interesting. And what we can still do is we can still carry the idea of the belts coming across there. That's perfectly fine. And I think you'll agree that overall it should look a bit better. A bit more interesting at least, because now the silhouette has got an area at the top and it's got the kind of belt buckles as well, which is carried throughout the rest of our character. Yeah, okay, what do you think of that? And we could always carry the stitching all the way up top there, and it could kind of just be loose there, as it's just the size of her arm essentially. Now, what do I actually think for the glove itself? Nothing too flash, just a very kind of standard glove there like that. There's also another thing you could do, of course. Most kind of gloves for firing weapons are actually just half finger gloves. Okay, so you could actually choose to do that as well. You could actually just have half finger gloves. Why not? Okay, her sword arm could have a full glove, and her kind of gun arm could have just half finger gloves to kind of distinguish between the two, kind of borrowing a bit of an idea from Ash there as well. Okay, now I have toyed with the idea of putting armor on the kind of arm as it is, or the gloves as it is, and I've gone against it for now, just because again I want to be careful of how much metal I want to put on the character. Having said that, however, if I do get to the point where I'm making the gloves in ZBrush and I feel like it's a bit too basic, or maybe I want a bit of asymmetry introduced, I might just come back to the concept art phase and introduce some kind of maybe metal design that I can just stick on her sword arm particularly. Right, that leaves us with the boots now. Let's go ahead and draw the boots. The boots they're not really a design that needs to be changed or explored any further, I believe. They are good. I like them the way they are already. I'm just going to elaborate on what they actually look like a bit more for you. Okay, so we've got a very definitive heel there. I like that idea. And a very nice curvature on the boots here. And I'm a fan of having the boots kind of stick up a little bit almost. Maybe not that much, but stick up somewhat there. Okay, and then just kind of almost curl round into something like that. And then she's got very big feet, hasn't she? Maybe I need to change that a little bit. That's probably a bit too big there, Mike. Let's pull that back a bit. I should have drawn the other kind of part first. Right, and now from here, there we go. Let's draw in the heel. And then point it up a bit. There we go, that's a bit more realistic. Let's have a nice defined sole. There we go. And I might just want a little kind of patch for the heel as well. Okay. Now I haven't got any laces on the front. I don't want to make boots that have laces on the front. I always feel like whenever I make boots for my characters, I always give them laces on the front. So this time I'm going to refrain from doing that. I'm going to come up with something that's just not got laces, essentially. Okay. So I'm actually just going to have it kind of closed like that. So it might even have like a little kind of sewing seam that goes all the way down the side of the boot like that. Okay, now our boot does have straps going across, so let's add them in, possibly around there. I want these to be quite chunky straps as well, so let's add them in. I feel like our character's kind of like, I have some very loose fitting clothing and gear. What's the way I could kind of make it sized right for me? I'll just add straps. I'll add straps to my gloves, I'll add straps to my boots, I'll add straps to my satchels, I'll add straps to my belts, I'll add straps to my hair, to my nose. I'll just resize it, just add straps to everything. That's essentially our character's mindset. And of course I'm just going to create a new layer here because I have to introduce those basically, I guess what you could call kind of navy shoe flaps. I don't know, maybe just bring that down a bit there. I'm not sure how that would look, But then, what's the best way to draw these? I think it's just to... There we go, something like that. And depending upon the design we want to use, how big they are going to be, I don't know. And we could make them quite exaggerative, perhaps. Something like that. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. That probably something like that. Is that correct? I'm not entirely sure. Let me check. Yeah, that looks okay. I think, for lack of a better idea for now, I'm just not so happy with... Maybe let's try that again. Did I do something wrong there? Doesn't look quite right. Maybe it's got to flail out like that instead. That's probably the error. It should kind of... There we go. Something like that. Okay. And then we can have whatever design we want on there later on. Okay, so that's the implements there. I'm quite happy with that as a design. Okay, I don't think I'll need to change much about that boot. I think that's pretty good to go. Any kind of detail we'll add to it, we'll kind of add it in 3D. Now, what about this side armor here, the leg armor? That's in danger of being axed because with all the satchels we add onto her and other things, we might end up finding we don't actually need anything extra on there. But just in case we do, let's just kind of extrapolate that design a little bit. We'll kind of draw it over here. What does that thigh guard kind of look like? Perhaps something a bit more generic, perhaps something a bit more just looks like raw purpose protection. Oh, hey, Pen, relax. Pen going a bit wild there. Okay, so we could have something, or just a little strap there that kind of just folds over, tucks into her trousers nicely, out of sight, out of mind. And then instead of having the belt kind of on the inside there, we could actually bring that buckle on that belt on the outside now. That might be a good way to show that off. But again, I just want some very simple design there. Maybe a groove in there. Comes down there, something like that. And maybe this could have a kind of pattern or something in it. Later on that we could just easily add with an alpha in ZBrush. Okay, something like that. Now speaking on patterns, let me actually just add in the belt buckle whilst we're here. Now the buckle will be on the other side, so we don't need to, yay! Okay, so speaking of patterns, I have on my mood board brought in some ideas for patterns and etchings you can see up here. Okay, and the nice thing about ZBrush is that we can just use alphas for this. Now, I could go to a marketplace somewhere and then kind of buy some alphas and whatnot and use them for this project. However, at the same time, if I were to do that, I feel like it would be a bit too much of it would be, it's not very nice of like, I've got these fantastic alphas because I bought them. Great for me, but maybe not so good for you. Maybe you don't want to buy anything as extra. So what I'm going to do instead is elect to do all these kind of patterns manually, all through kind of free stock images we find on Google or what have you. The nice thing about ZBrush is that these are all just alphas we can pattern. We can borrow some from ZBrush already. We might even be able to pull some from Substance Painter, which is another program we're going to use. And if you want to go wild and, I don't know, have an imprint of a wolf face on the thigh guard there, which is completely sensical. I mean, I think that might be a good idea. I want to explore anyhow. You can, just find a stock image of a wolf somewhere, download it, turn it black and white. We'll be making custom alphas anyhow in that stage, so I'll show you how to do that. And it's just a drag and drop. Just drag it out on ZBrush there, and it automatically embosses it for you. Somebody had to go through the painstaking real life task of embossing that with very fine tools and following a very, very fine template. But for us in ZBrush, it's a cakewalk. We just simply find a picture and drag it out on the 3D mesh, and it just makes an imprint for us. So all these kind of patterns, that's why I said I want to leave to the 3D stage, because it's very, very easy just to spend time in and out just try this pattern, let's try that pattern. It's a lot easier for me to kind of experiment with a pattern in 3D than it is to kind of draw a bunch of designs in 2D, because 2D really is, as you can see, not my forte. So having said that, we will leave 2D there for now. Okay guys, so hopefully I've given you a comprehensive look at how to run the character through the ringer of concept design, explore different elements, get the general costume down, break out and draw out some of the elements that are more pertinent, like satchels and belts and emblems and gloves and boots and what have you. We hopefully have a good understanding of how to proceed in 3D. I'm only going to take one more video, and I swear I'm not trying to prevent 3D from happening. It's an optional video, but I do think it's a good time to just go ahead and review now. How far have we come, and how far have we deviated from the initial idea of our character from the character brief? So I'm just going to spend one more video reviewing and evaluating it so far. That is the nature of iterative design. So go ahead and do that in the next video.